Hello everybody, I am Paul Nolan, Group Development Manager of Dawn Meats, and I am delighted to be your moderator today. Welcome to the Great Agri-Food Debate 2022, where students of food and agri from third level colleges across Ireland and the UK are gathering virtually for the 7th Annual Great Agri-Food Debate. A joint initiative from McDonald's and Dawn Meats, who are proud to be supporting the next generation of business leaders. Of course, every debate has to have a winner, and we are delighted to have Eoin McGuinness, Tim Rycroft, Dr. Anne-Marie Butler, and Isla Roebuck as our judges. As our judges, I'd like, of course, to thank you for your time, and perhaps we might ask you to introduce yourselves. So if I could, I'll start with Eoin McGuinness. Eoin.
Thank you, Paul. Hello, everyone. My name is Eoin McGuinness. I am the Head of Debt Advisory in IBI Corporate Finance. I'm delighted to be back at the Great Agri-Food Debate. This is my 5th time back, and I'm really looking forward today to hearing teams argue the motion today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eoin, and great to see you again. Secondly, Tim Rycroft. Tim, you're very welcome.
Thank you, Paul. It's great to be here. Thank you for the invitation to be a judge today. So I'm Tim Rycroft, Chief Executive of the Agriculture and Horticulture Development Board, AHDB. That's the statutory levy board for the UK. And I've been in post for about 6 months now. So it's very exciting to be with you, and I'm looking forward to the debate.
Thanks indeed, Tim. Anne-Marie, you're very welcome also. It's your first year, so we're delighted to have you on board.
Yeah, thank you very much, Paul, and hello to all viewers and all participants. I'm delighted to be with you today. I was recently appointed the Head of Education with Teagasc, so I'm very much looking forward to hearing the debate today and to congratulate all on taking part and certainly to enjoy the experience.
Thank you very much, Anne-Marie. And so last but not least, my colleague Isla Roebuck. Isla, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, good afternoon all. I'm Isla Roebuck. I've been with Dunbia and Dawn Meats since 1993. I am the Business Public Relations Director for Dunbia. I look forward to a very interesting debate this afternoon on this extremely important topic. And I hope you all enjoy yourselves as you explain to us your different aspects of how you see this particular topic. It is very extremely important to Dawn Meats, and we'll take a lot of interest in the different propositions you put. So I wish you all well, and I hope you enjoy the event.
Thank you very much, Isla. Thank you very much, judges. So our topic for debate today is red meat is essential as part of a nutritionally balanced diet. And I am delighted to introduce the two teams taking part in this debate. We have the Munster Technical University, which is a new entity based in Cork and Kerry, and they are being opposed by Dundalk IT. So to both of those teams, you're very welcome. Proposing the motion will be MTU and opposing the motion, DIT. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to begin our debate today. So firstly, can I welcome both teams on stage, please? That is, of course, DKIT and MTU. So representing DIT, we welcome Ciara Brady, Captain. We have Clara Bolger, Richard Gilsenan, and Sarah Armstrong. And for MTU, we have Captain Karen Daly, we have David Cronin, we have Eoin O'Brien and Barry Lyons. So teams, you're very welcome. Just to maybe run through the rules briefly, a small reminder of where we are with these. The team captains will open and close the debate and introduce their teammates. Each student's speech will be for a maximum of 5 minutes. And my colleague, Stephen Tumman, is our timekeeper today. So after 4 minutes, he will call out time. And then, of course, after five minutes, he will tell you time up. Interrupting a student while they're speaking is not allowed, but after each speaker, 1 point of information may be offered by the competing team. Points of information are not allowed following the captain's closing arguments. And so, as we prepare to begin this debate, can I just take the opportunity to say to all the participants, well done, you've put in the hard work, your preparation is done, so try to relax and enjoy the experience. And so to open our debate on the topic, red meat is essential as part of a nutritionally based diet, and boy is that topical today, I invite MTU Captain Karen Delaney to open the debate proposing. Karen.
Chairperson, adjudicators, members of the opposition, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Karen Delaney and I am here alongside my teammates David, Eoin and Barry to passionately propose the motion that red meat is an essential part of a nutritionally balanced diet. First, I will go through the important definitions in this motion. According to the IARC, red meat is meat that is dark brown in colour when it has been cooked, such as beef, lamb, mutton, veal, pork, steak, pork, horse or goat. Essential, according to the Oxford English Dictionary, means completely necessary, extremely important in a particular situation or for a particular activity. Part means part of something, some but not all of a thing. Nutritionally balanced diet is defined as one of which fulfills all nutritional needs of the body. From this point forward, the following things need to be made clear. When we say red meat, we are talking about roast beef, mincemeat, lamb chops, being particularly essential as a part of a balanced diet. But what is a balanced diet? As a young first-year home economics student in Loreto Kilkenny, my teacher drilled the definition into me. A balanced diet is a diet that contains all the nutrients and correct amount to our body's needs. And today, ladies and gentlemen, my team and I will explain to you why red meat is essential as a part of a balanced diet. In Ireland, we have 936,773 beef suckler cows in herds kept in under 80,000 farms, according to Enterprise Ireland. Grass-fed beef tends to be lower in overall fat content and is also higher in vitamins A and E. 29% of all adult meals include red meat, corresponding with Borbia figures. We love meat. Of course, our opposition will try to tell you that red meat causes cancer, that red meat is as bad as tobacco smoking, that it is healthier to eliminate red meat from the diet. But I urge you not to be swayed by the opposition's overly simplistic view of the diet and the existing evidence. My three teammates alongside me here will be giving us the truth, the facts and the statistics about why red meat is so important in a nutritionally balanced diet and why this motion should most definitely be passed today. David will be talking about the benefits of including red meat in our diet, while Eoin will be discussing the benefits of red meat versus the alternative options people have. Finally, Barry will be examining the importance of red meat to specific individuals. Not only did Miss Kelly teach me the definition of a balanced diet, but she also highlighted how a balanced diet includes red meat. But why, might you ask? For iron that is vital to make red blood cells for growth and repair, for vitamin B12, which keeps a healthy nervous system, for zinc, which helps us to process macronutrients in our food and helps us to heal wounds. Where is the best source to get these nutrients? The answer, ladies and gentlemen, is red meat. And by the time my team and I have finished talking to you, you will all know why. We will explain why and how red meat is the most evident source of iron and why we should include it if we want to maintain a nutritionally balanced diet. Reputable sources continually enforce the message that red meats are particularly rich sources of these nutrients in a bioavailable form. It is clear to us the proposition that red meat is an essential component of a nutritionally balanced diet. If you're like me and look forward to your dinner before you've even had your breakfast when you hear that it's fillet of steak, red meat can be the tastiest part of our meals, but it can also be the most nutritious part of our diet as well. So do not be fooled by the opposition here today. We all know what's good for us to keep a nutritious balanced diet. The World Health Organization is a specialized agency responsible for international public health. These people were not just plucked out of the sky. They are all experts in their fields. To quote these experts, eating meat has known health benefits. I think it is fair to say they know what they're talking about. They recommend 350 to 500 grams of red meat per week. They did not say to completely eliminate it, thus gives us a warrant to include it in our nutritionally balanced diet. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us not be fooled by what the opposition are going to say. Let's stick with the professionals and join with us and propose the motion that red meat is an essential part to a nutritionally balanced diet.
Thank you very much. Well done, Karen. And you've got us off to a great start. You've laid your stall out there pretty clearly. So I'd just like to ask the opposition if they have any point of information to make to you. And so, opposing the motion, we'll hear the opening remarks now from DKIT team captain Ciara Brady. Over to you, Ciara.
Good afternoon, chairperson, adjudicators, members of the proposition, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ciara Brady, and today I stand here before you, virtually as the captain of DKIT debating team. Myself and my teammates are here today representing DKIT to strongly oppose the motion that red meat is essential as part of a nutritionally balanced diet. Firstly, I'd like to begin with digesting the motion, stating that red meat is essential. Essential meaning it is absolutely necessary according to the Oxford Dictionary in order to have a nutritionally balanced diet. Red meat, as defined by the International Agency for Research on Cancer, is all mammalian muscle meat, including beef, veal, pork, lamb, mutton, horse, and goat. And what is a nutritionally balanced diet? A nutritionally balanced diet is one which fulfills all of a person's nutritional needs and is an important part of maintaining good health and helps you feel your best, according to the NHS. It involves an adequate proportion of proteins, carbohydrates, fats, minerals, and vitamins, as exciting as that may sound. Yes, I absolutely couldn't agree more with the proposition that red meat is an excellent source of several nutrients such as vitamin B12, high biological value protein, iron, and zinc. But who is to say that in order for you to have a nutritionally balanced diet, you cannot obtain each of these macro and micronutrients from alternative foods such as white meat, fish, beans, and lentils? My colleague Claire, who comes from a family with diverse diets, will go into great detail explaining just how these nutrients can be obtained elsewhere and advance on how red meat is ultimately essential. The reduction in red meat has become a common trend in recent years, with even some of the world's greatest athletes excelling at their sport with the reduction of red meat in their diets. And again, the proposition argued that red meat is essential. My colleague Richard will give just a few examples of such athletes. Myself, coming from a traditional Irish family of four, a day rarely passes where we don't receive a homemade dinner consisting of spuds, veg, and of course, a source of protein, which is typically red meat. My father, who is in his late 50s, wouldn't classify a dinner unless the presence of red meat. However, that very man suffers many health issues. Moving on, if red meat was to become a premium product where it is enjoyed occasionally rather than a daily necessity, which is the case in countries such as Japan where it is classified as a luxury, many of the supply chain in Ireland could benefit. For farmers, intensive farming could become a thing of the past, and farming enterprises could receive much greater profit for better quality produce at smaller quantities. Suckler farmer Ciara will bring you through how the labelling of red meat as an essential element of a diet will do neither the farmer nor the consumer any favours of how it will standardise a meal and will lose its value. Myself, coming from a beef and sheep farm at home in the Drumlins of West County Cavan, we, a small part enterprise, will want to continue doing what we do at the current scale. However, with already low margins and expected to become even lower with rising input costs, by no means can we afford to increase production on our heavy marginal land. Can you tell me how we, a farming nation, can increase production to fuel this essential requirement in the diet with the average age of beef farmers at 58 years of age and slowly on the rise? Making red meat essential in the diet has no place in Ireland. So, Karen, a key point we as the proposing team wish to reiterate throughout this debate is that we do not wish to completely eradicate red meats from the diet. Marginally enough, we agree with the proposing team that yes, red meat is an excellent protein that offers a multitude of nutrients. However, what we are arguing today is that red meat is not absolutely necessary in our diets in order to have a nutritionally balanced diet. And if the opposing team want to fight us on changing red meat from an everyday, cheap, lost in the aisles product to one which is seen as a luxury, then let them. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Ciara, for that. Appreciate it. Any points of information from MTU for Ciara? So, having enjoyed the opening remarks from both captains, we now call on Ciara's DKIT colleague, Claire Bolger, to further oppose the motion, red meat is an essential as part of a nutritionally based diet. Over to you, Claire.
Thanks very much. Good afternoon, judges, adjudicators, and members of the proposition. My name is Claire Bolger, and today I'll be strongly opposing the motion. Red meat is essential as a nutritionally balanced diet. I myself don't come from a farming background, but I do work on a dairy farm. By the way, Karen, my mother is a home economics teacher who's a particularly good mind when it comes to so-called healthy eating. As well as that, I have a sister who is a vegetarian. So I'm sure you can imagine the kind of debate that goes on at home at our dinner table. I'm not going to sit in front of you all here today and say that red meat shouldn't be in the diet and we should all become vegetarians. I'm simply going to offer an alternative. But I am going to emphasise the facts, why red meat is not an essential part of a nutritionally balanced diet. Let's have a look at what the true definition of our motion is today. According to the World Health Organization, red meat is defined as any meat that comes from mammalian muscle. This includes beef, lamb, pork, goat, veal, and mutton. Essential is defined by Collins Dictionary as something that is absolutely necessary or extremely important to a particular subject, situation, or activity. Take note of this key word. And finally, the British Nutritional Foundation states that healthy eating is about having a balance of different foods and nutrients in the diet for good health and well-being. In the Irish food pyramid, red meat is placed on shelf 4, alongside poultry, fish, eggs, beans, peas, nuts, and lentils, with 2 servings being recommended a day. Karen says that red meat is essential in a balanced diet. Let's look at what this so-called essential meat provides and where else its nutrients are available. High biological value protein is a big constituent in red meat. It's important for the growth and repair of cells and the production of enzymes and hormones. The National Academy of Medicine recommends that adults get 0.75 grams of protein per 1 kg of body weight per day. However, I remind you that not all protein sources are equal and you may not require as much as you think. Iron, according to the British Dietetic Association, plays a key role in muscle development and hemoglobin production. Red meat is rich in iron, but is also found in fish and the brown poultry meats. For the record, Karen failed to mention that meat naturally lacks vitamin C, which is plentiful in fruit and vegetables. Vitamin C helps iron absorption and helps build our immune system. Red meat is also low in calcium, which is essential for bone health. It's readily available in dairy produce, pulses, and green veg. The proposition may argue that vitamin B12, needed for blood formation, is only found in red meat. However, it's also found in fish and eggs, as well as containing the rest of the B group vitamins, which are essential for metabolism. Before I conclude, I'd like to bring to your attention 2 studies related to consuming red meat and health conditions. IARC is the International Agency for Research on Cancer for the World Health Organization, who I'm sure we're all well familiar with after the last 2 years and their significance to human health. In a study that was carried out in 2015, it looked at carcinogenic substances associated with humans. IARC classified red meat as Group 2A. This showed positive association between eating red meat and developing cancer. The study also found that there was no cancer risk associated with poultry or fish intake. In relation to coronary heart disease in red meat, in 2017, the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that 3 ounces of red meat 3 days a week doesn't make it a risk factor for contributing to coronary heart disease. As is evident for the information I have placed before you, our diet should not be a meat minus diet, nor am I recommending everyone here should hop on the vegan voyage. I'm simply stating that by combining a variety of different foods in a flexible way, we can have a nutritionally balanced diet. Red meat is in no way essential to this goal. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much for that, Claire. I wonder, have we a point of information from MTU?
Can I address a point of information to the...
Please do.
Yeah. I would just like to address the question of how much of those sources that you mentioned would take to replace the amount of heme iron replaced by red meat substitutes.
Yeah, that's no bother. So red meat, according to the nutritionalvalue.org, has 2.8 milligrams of iron per 100 kg. And the likes of your mussels has 3.2 milligrams of iron, the heme iron per 100 kg. So I think that shows that you've more iron in your seafood. Lentils, as even though they're non-heme iron, a third of them is heme iron, and a third of, so 13 milligrams of lentils is non-heme iron, but a third of that is 4.33 grams of iron. So again, there's two sources compared to red meat.
Thank you very much, Claire, and thank you indeed, Barry, for the question. And so, proposing the motion, red meat is essential as part of a nutritionally balanced diet, David Cronin, MTU. Over to you, David.
Thank you, Paul. Chairperson, adjudicators, and everyone here with us online today. My name is David, and today we are here to propose the motion that red meat is an essential part of a balanced diet. According to my teammate Karen's definition, something that is essential is extremely important to a particular subject, situation, or activity. In this case, it obviously refers to red meat in the diet. We are not for 1 second suggesting that a red meat only diet or red meat every day, but instead as part of a healthy, balanced diet. Before recorded history began, our ancestors developed tools and instincts to hunt in order to obtain red meat. Over the course of thousands of years, our bodies evolved and adapted to incorporate red meat in the diet, with incisors and canine teeth for cutting and biting. Not to mention the redundancy of the ticking time bomb in us all known as the appendix, which is no longer needed for digestion. We are referring today about red meat being part of a balanced diet. We are referring to the quality Irish beef and lamb that has grown all around Ireland every day. Homegrown Irish beef has been part of our diet for centuries and should continue to do so. We are talking about prime Irish beef supplied by progressive, dynamic companies like Dawn Meat, beef grown on the beautiful Jersey Island in the shadow of a cable car, beef grown sustainably and responsibly in Clare, in environmental and to protect unique environments like the Burn. Lamb that has grown in the Golden Vale and along the Ring of Kerry, and supporting local beef farmers like Liam Delaney in Portlaoise, who has been supplying Dawn Meats for over 34 years. Since earliest times, Ireland has been one of the top producers of red meat in the world and been highly desirable all over the world due to flavour and exceptional quality nutrients that it offers, all of which tell us red meat is an essential part of a balanced diet. Red meat can contribute many health benefits when consumed as part of a balanced diet. It is a source of iron, high in complete protein, and rich in vitamin B12, all aspects essential to life. Iron is an essential element for blood production, along with its role in hemoglobin, which is the transport system for transferring oxygen from the lungs to the tissues. Iron deficiency has long been a problem, somewhat subclinically, affecting the adult population. Studies from Mosh et al. In 2013 in the Journal of Pediatric Gastroenterology clearly showed children with a low meat consumption had a 4 times greater chance of developing iron deficiency than those who consumed a minimum of 2 servings a week. Mosh is not an isolated study, with other peer-reviewed studies such as McLean et al. In 2005 and Bruner et al. In 1996 coming back with extremely similar data sets. Iron deficiency and anemia commonly affects adults throughout their lives, and some plant-based alternatives are proposed to red meat for vegans and vegetarians. Although the plant-based options on the outside seem to have sufficient nutrients, there are some very worrying issues with them. The Captain Ciara mentioned lentils as an alternative. Although lentils do provide some nutrients, there is a big issue. When consumed in excess, they can lead to lectin poisoning. Iron absorption from plants is limited because of inhibitors such as anti-nutrients. Even if vegans and vegetarians have intakes above the recommendation levels, and often higher than those of omnivores, they still may result in lower iron status. This is also the case with heme iron, which is found in meat, and non-heme iron, which is more basically known as the plant equivalent. Heme iron found in meat is nearly 3 times more absorbable than its plant-based alternatives. Claire spoke about heme iron absorption rates, and I will contradict this. In 200 grams of steak, there is 33% of the recommended heme iron. Compare that to a similar serving of chicken, 5% absorbed, and spinach, 3% absorbed. And we got those stats from Nutritics. Let alone do plant-based alternatives have limiting factors on absorption of iron. There's also other nutrients that are limited compared with a plant-based diet, with a balanced diet of red meat.
Time.
Of replacing the traditional glass of milk with a dinner with a vitamin supplement drink, or indeed replacing a ginger nut with a nettle extract. It's a T-bone steak and a glass of milk for me every day. According to Green et al. In 2018, one of the largest concerns in a non-meat diet is related to vitamin B12, which is necessary for neural health, the production of DNA, and red blood cells. This is a very worrying issue, as vitamin B12 is one of the most important nutrients due to its roles with blood production. Vitamin B12 has many red meat sources, such as beef and lamb, offering 100% of daily requirement in a 100-gram serving, and only 10 grams of liver were required to meet these recommended targets. Non-meat alternatives have very worrying issues with intake, where intakes are limited. A study conducted in England by Herman et al. Discovered that over 90% of vegans and 70% of vegetarians turned out to be deficient in one of the most important vitamins. Compare this to less than 10% of omnivores.
Time up.
Deficient. I hope you can agree in proposing this motion. And
well done, David. Thank you very much. I wonder if DKIT have a point of information for you.
Yeah, I have a point of information.
Fire ahead, please.
Yeah, just David, you mentioned there that people around Ireland are eating sustainably Irish produced beef. Just to note, not all meat or red meat or beef is Irish and sustainably produced. That's on the markets, on the shelves and shops.
I agree, not all meat in Ireland is Irish produced, but a majority of it is. We are one of the most sustainably accepted countries in the world for producing beef. We're limited in relation to our per kg of meat, where our emissions are very limited. We are talking about grass-fed Irish beef in a lot in this debate, due to the majority of people here eating local, eating from local butchers, eating from local shops, and not importing large quantities of beef like you would have in the European continent or the US continents.
Thank you very much, David. So I'm now pleased to welcome, opposing the motion red meat is essential as part of a nutritionally balanced diet, Richard Gilsenan from DKIT. Richard.
Good afternoon, ladies, gentlemen, chairperson, judges and opposing team. My name is Richard Gilsenan. My team and I are here today to oppose the motion that red meat is an essential part of a nutritionally balanced diet. As I present myself before you today, the facts on red meat can no longer be ignored. At the current average consumption rate, the potential poses a negative effect on human health and the environment. Yes, as Claire mentioned, meat is a good source of protein, vitamins, iron and minerals, but it is clear that an overconsumption of red meat results in a negative effect on human health. Most guidance in relation to red meat from the Irish Food Safety Authority and the UK NHS advises people on how to reduce its consumption rather than increase it. The point we're arguing is not that red meat should be completely eliminated from the diet, just that it is an option in a balanced diet. An increase in the number of athletes are beginning to decrease the amount of red meat consumption. There are many athletes performing at exceptionally high levels that do not incorporate meat in their diet. These athletes are clear proof that red meat is not essential in a nutritionally balanced diet. Some of these athletes include 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton, 7-time Grand Slam Venus Williams, and Premier League winning footballer Chris Smalling. Any of these names ring a bell. Some of the world's most successful athletes which have moved up the ranks within their field without red meat, included in their nutritionally balanced diet. You'll be led into thinking by the proposing team opposition that it was an essential part of the diet. These athletes would be sure to incorporate it. Do you think Lewis may have actually won last year's Grand Prix if he had steak for dinner every day? Who knows, but I doubt it. These athletes are just a few examples of how decreasing red meat consumption has no effect physically or mentally on performance. The proposition may argue, where do people get their protein in the diet? This is true. Athletes need far more protein than your average person, but it is not necessarily that it comes from animals. In fact, there are very few athletes that get all their protein requirements from consuming straight red meat. Many countries around the world get a nutritionally balanced diet from other sources of food and red meat. I would like to ask the proposition to explain to us how Hinduism has lasted for thousands of years when those billion or so people are missing the essential component in their diet. Indeed, just because you're reducing red meat in your diet does not mean you're reducing the quality of food. If you went to an Italian restaurant tonight, there will be a variety of pasta and pizza dishes which do not incorporate red meat and by no means lack the rich taste or flavour or excellent nutrition. There is an unfair stigma surrounding this topic, with many people being discouraged by the thought that reducing red meat will mean going against the tradition or being forced into adopting a plant-based diet. This is not the case. The fact that you could be fine dining in a sushi in Tokyo or absolutely dying after a big night out in the city of Paris, heading for a coffee and a croissant the next morning. Either way, you'll have a well-balanced diet without red meat in both scenarios. In Ireland, we have our traditional meat and spuds. This diet has served us well for many years, but possibly it's a time for a bit of a change. Red meat is viewed as an optional premium product in a range of countries across the globe, and it makes perfect sense. Eating meat as an optional in moderation is fine, but overeating meat in a diet reduces life expectancy and is linked to many diseases with overconsumption of red meat, as Claire mentioned above. With a growing population, there won't be enough red meat produced in a sustainable manner around the globe, because we have to remember, this is a global issue, not just an Irish issue. Poverty and war-struck countries cannot afford to include meat in their diets on a daily basis. And the reality is they don't have to spending. There's no point spreading misleading information that will set the populations up for failure. For the future of Irish grass-fed beef, and more importantly, the goal of feeding the global population on a nutritionally balanced diet, we need to realise and accept that red meat is an option, and it is not essential for everyone in the world to have it in their healthy diet. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Richard. Is there a point of information from MTU for Richard?
I'll take one.
Yes, please. The floor is yours.
I'll take a point of information.
Go ahead, David.
He says red meat is not expected worldwide. Currently, red meat is part of dietary guidelines worldwide according to the WHO. Why is this the case?
Sorry, David, can you repeat that? I missed the first line there. It was a bit blurry.
You said red meat is
didn't catch the accent.
Apologies. You said red meat is not an essential part. The WHO has said that red meat is still currently included in dietary requirements all over the dietary guidelines globally. Why is this?
It's not essential in every day to include meat in an everyday diet. You mentioned in your speech 2 portions a week or 2 servings a week. Yeah, but this debate is they're deemed essential, and we're not deeming red meat essential.
Thank you for that, Richard. And so at this stage, we move to our next speaker. It's actually a change on the MTU team sheet. We're delighted to welcome Eoin O'Brien proposing the motion. Eoin, over to yourself. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chairperson, adjudicators, ladies and gentlemen. The topic of red meat in the diet, when compared to its alternatives, is of late a controversial and impassioned one. In the last number of years, red meat has been pointed as a bad guy for consumers, and that their meatless substitutes are thought of as being healthy alternatives to the more traditional meat-based produce. However, there are drawbacks to such diets. As our Captain Karen outlined in her opening speech, she defined a balanced diet as one in which all the nutritional needs of the body are met. And in that, we can see the greatest drawbacks of the alternative vegetarian and vegan diets. As in order for these diets to be effective and fulfill the necessary requirements of the body, vitamin and mineral supplements are needed. For instance, in vegan diets, for those partaking, it is common to be deficient in the likes of calcium, vitamin B12, vitamin D, as well as lacking in iron and protein. This is not only to mention the fact that there is an increasing number of heavily processed red meat alternatives, with many times these foods are less healthy, containing more sodium, fat, and calories than their traditional meat counterparts. For example, the infamous Impossible Burger is made up of over 12 ingredients, including soy protein concentrate, coconut oil, sunflower oil, potato protein, methyl cellulose, water, salt, gums, and yeast extract, as well as additives including zinc, vitamin B6, thiamine, and niacin. I don't know about anyone else here, but I know a very few people who grew up on spuds and methyl cellulose for dinner instead of the more appreciated bacon and cabbage. The Impossible Burger is also very high in salt, with a 4-ounce serving including over 350 milligrams of salt, with a normal beef burger only including 75. And seeing as how diets high in sodium and processed foods are the main culprit of cardiovascular disease, which is the leading cause of death attributed to diet, I think this speaks for itself for some of the advantages that beef has over its inferior competitors. In regard to a vegetarian diet, they of course are not as restricted when compared to the vegan diet, but this too has its disadvantages, including the wide-ranging vitamin and nutrient deficiencies that vegans face as well as lacking in vitamin B12 and omega-3 fatty acids. Now, I don't wish to discredit these diets, nor those who partake in them, but it is important for people to realise that red meat has played a crucial role in providing the necessary nutritional requirements for humans for millennia. Coming on from the very idea of having artificial and synthetic supplements as part of a diet, it goes against the very idea of that diet being balanced. In regard to the pescatarian diets, in which people mainly eat fish, according to the UK's NHS, this diet can also be deficient in terms of calcium, phosphorus, vitamin B12, and zinc, all of which the likes of lamb, pork, or beef are very high in. As previously mentioned, red meat is a nutrient-dense food, rich in the necessary vitamins and minerals, and is widely available to the whole population. Seeing as how not everyone has the availability to purchase the Impossible Burger, or have knowledge of the required daily nutrients, as the likes of professional athletes who have professional nutritionists on hand, or would people have access to artificial supplements, it is crucial to recognise the advantages that the availability of red meat that red meat has done for the global population in helping pull much of the developing world out of food insecurity and malnutrition. Now, our team is not trying to say that everyone should be eating red meat, but instead be promoting a wide variety of food types, including red meat, to be adopted into their food intake, in order to achieve the benefits that all of these diets present in order to accomplish a truly balanced diet. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Eoin. I wonder if there's a point of information from the opposition, please.
Yeah, I have one. Thanks.
Right ahead.
Eoin, so you say that the vegetarian diet, like you can have vitamin deficiencies, B12 deficiencies, omega-3 deficiencies. My sister, who I said at the start, is vegetarian, and she is actually playing rugby with a big rugby team in Dublin. And in saying that, she's at the top of her game. She's never had issues with deficiency. She's a vegetarian about 4 years, I think, off the top of my head. And, you know, I just like, they're obviously getting the vitamins and the B12 somewhere. So, you know, you're standing in front of us today saying that you can't be vegetarian. We're not saying go vegetarian either, but you're saying don't go vegetarian because of these issues. But it's just not a very clear point, I don't think.
Oh yeah, we take the point, but you just have to realize that not everyone has the access to the Western diet, or we don't have not everyone has the access to the necessary supplements or the access to the required lentils or whatever some vegetarians require. Sorry for that.
No problem. Thank you very much, Eoin, and indeed thanks there for the question. And so, as we move on through the debate, I just want to remind you again to please tweet on our Twitter handle, #Great Agri-Food Debate. The more comments you make, the better it makes this whole competition. So we'd appreciate your comments as you watch the debate. At this stage, it is my pleasure to introduce to you from DKIT to oppose the motion, Ciara Armstrong.
Thank you, Paul. Good afternoon, judges, adjudicators, viewers, and members of the proposition. My name is Ciara Armstrong, and I am here to strongly oppose the motion that red meat is an essential part of a nutritionally balanced diet. I have a suckler herd at home, and I, along with Ciara, Richard, and many of you here today, are primary producers of red meat. Contrary to what the proposition will have you believe, I know firsthand that labelling red meat as essential will in no way benefit my farm or any other Irish farms. I want you to keep this in mind, because whether win or lose today, I don't want the proposition to blindside you with irrelevant facts, as we all know they've tried to do here today. Red meat, what is it? We automatically think of beef, pork and lamb. As much as the beef baron and many others want us to believe that encouraging the consumption of red meat is benefiting farmers, we all know this just isn't true. Like Karen and her fellow teammates, I could blabber on and convince you how great red meat is, but unfortunately, that is not going to benefit me as a producer. Have you actually seen the price of beef lately? Branding red meat as essential poses a threat to the integrity of our family farms, as others reap the benefits beyond the farm gate. If we take a look at what other foods are deemed essential, we are oftentimes presented with fruit and vegetables. Getting your 5 a day. While it is great getting 49-cent carrots here and 49-cent apples there, this has taken a toll on farmers. Every single year, there are farmers leaving the market. Just last month in the Farmers' Journal, the dealer spoke about the Lenahans in County Meath getting out of vegetable production due to falling prices and increasing costs. Rory Lenahan can be quoted saying, "My cabbage has gone from €1.39 5 years ago to 99 cents in stores." Now think about that for a minute. Karen and her teammates need to take off their rose-tinted glasses and see the true damage of labelling red meat as an essential part of a nutritionally balanced diet. As a Cavan woman myself, I'd be fond of a good bargain. Same goes for many Irish consumers. As the demand rises for red meat, so does the demand for cheaper alternatives, which Irish farmers simply cannot afford to supply. Everyday Essentials is a basic, affordable line of products stocked in Aldi. Surely, in order to benefit Irish beef, sheep and pig farmers, labelling their products as essential isn't exactly going to line their pockets. Let me ask you a question. What do you, the audience, think when you hear the words premium product? You probably think good quality, more expensive, deluxe, 5-star. Now, what do you think when you hear premium Irish beef, pork and lamb? Does sustainable, quality assured and grass-fed ring any bells? Instead of branding red meat as essential, offering it as a premium product not only attracts consumers, but also a premium price for Irish farmers. A report submitted to the Joint Oireachtas Committee on the Agriculture and A report submitted to the Joint Oireachtas Committee on Agriculture, Food and the Marine by the Irish Cattle and Sheep Farmers Association listed developing a brand image for Irish beef based upon superior attributes to secure additional markets and price premiums of up to 30% as an opportunity for the sector. This status would insulate red meat produced to high standards from cheaper imports. As well as that, consumers will be encouraged to explore other available options to red meat, allowing for not only a more balanced diet, but more balanced farming sector as the demand for other farm produce increase. Remember, quality over quantity. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for red meat consumption, but branding it as essential is not going to work in the way that the proposition wants you to believe. Instead of focusing on labelling red meat as an essential part of our diet, let's focus on making our diets nutritionally balanced by considering all options available. No matter how hard the proposition tried to sugarcoat the idea of essential red meat consumption, benefiting farmers and consumers, I'm afraid it is not going to cover the cost of fertiliser this year. I'll tell you that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ciara, for that. You left us in no doubt about your opposition to the motion. So I just wonder if there's a point of information from MTU. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we now reach the point of hearing from the final speaker before we have the closing remarks from the captains. So it's my pleasure to hand over to Barry Lyons from MTU, who is proposing the motion that red meat is essential as part of a nutritionally balanced diet. Barry, over to you, please.
Thanks, Paul. Welcome, everyone. My name is Barry. I hope you're enjoying this debate today on the merits of red meat in an essential part of a balanced diet, rather than the price of cabbages. This proposal on red meat being an essential part of a balanced diet is a strong one, as outlined already by Captain Karen, as well as other speakers, David and Owen. As a young farmer, as well as a player in hurling and football, I am also an enjoyer of red meat in the diet. Let's look at red meat in the diets of professional sports people. The IRFU Union, one of the most professional sporting organisations in Ireland, includes on its website as red meat as an essential part of the balanced diet for its athletes. Also, the Kerry Golden Years team, who won 8 All-Irelands in 12 years, were well known to enjoy steak dinners after their transition. I mean, can you imagine the bomber listening sitting down to a plate of tofu after a 2-hour transition in Fitzroy Stadium? As I address Richard's points, Venus Williams and Lewis Hamilton, both of those have professional nutritionists to look after them, to keep them right in all their nutrients. And all the F1 drivers, there's 20 drivers on the track. How come the other 19 drivers aren't taking part in a vegetarian diet? And also, I may remind him, it was Max Verstappen that won the F1 championship last year. According to the WHO, protein digestibility in vegetarian and vegan diets is reduced by 10% due to the higher fiber type of the diet. This will require the athlete to consume 110% of their target, making it difficult to consume that much without inhibiting the performance of the athlete. This is further proof that a vegetarian and a vegan diet needs to be topped up to provide basic nutrition provided by red meat in the diet. Claire speaks of her sister being lucky enough to not have to use her nutrition. Well, 70% of vegetarians do need this, according to Green et al. In 2018. On another group, a paper by Emma Derbyshire in 2017 showed females consuming less than 40 grams of red meat were more likely to have micronutrient intakes below the lower reference nutrient intake for zinc, iron, vitamin B12, and potassium. They were also found to have lower vitamin D intakes than females consuming between 40 grams and 69 grams daily. Her finding in that paper was to urge caution about making blanket statements about removing red meat from the diet. Instead, mention the necessity of keeping red meat within that diet. As mentioned by David in his speech previously, iron deficiency has long been a problem affecting the adult population. However, this problem begins far earlier in life, with studies from Mosh et al. In 2013 showing that children with low red meat consumption had 4-fold higher rates of iron deficiency than those who had consumed a minimum of 2 servings a week. In her speech at the Oxford Farming Conference, Professor Alice Stanton, professor at the Royal College of Surgeons, reported a 90% reduction in red meat consumption will result in amino acid and micronutrient deficiencies, specifically vitamin A, B12, D and K, and the minerals iron, zinc, and selenium, with disproportionate effects on the groups of women, children, and those living in the developing world. This emphasizes the universal nature of the importance of red meat in a balanced diet. Truth be told, from the steps of the Hogan stand to the steps of Central Asia, it's hard to beat a good steak dinner.
Well done, and thank you very much, Barry. I wonder if we have any question for a point of information for Barry from DKIT.
Yeah, I'll take that one. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Richard.
No bother. Just Barry, you said about the professional athletes have professional nutritionists. I suppose that they probably know what's good and what's bad in a diet. That was one thing, and the second thing was I was quite aware that Lewis didn't win the Grand Prix last year, and I stated that in my speech. But yeah, so what would you put into a nutritionally balanced diet? You're not a professional, so I don't know what you know about it, but the professionals would probably know better.
Well, there's plenty of different professionals and plenty of different advice on diets. Max Verstappen's nutritionist probably had a different idea and probably got him to the top. Yes.
Thank you very much, gents. We appreciate that. Wow, what a debate. So we've now reached the point where we bring the captains from DKIT and MTU back to give their closing remarks. So first off, we have opposing the motion, Ciara Brady from DKIT. Over to you, Ciara.
Hello. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I come here before you for one last time this afternoon to again stress to you, the audience, that red meat is not and will never be an essential part of a nutritionally balanced diet, and nor do we want it to be. And again, I highlight the definition of essential, meaning absolutely necessary, and it seems as though the Munster Technological University team got their wires crossed in this definition. The proposition today has tired us waffling a list of unrealistic and untrue facts about how red meat is essential. Essential? Can you explain to me how I could be told I am unhealthy with a poor nutritional diet and deficient in vital vitamins and nutrients if I haven't had a lamb chop for my dinner? Or that Lewis Hamilton or Venus Williams are inferior because they haven't had a steak? Karen, I can assure you Miss Kelly also educated you in the abundance of nutrients available in alternative foods, not just red meat. And I can surely guarantee she didn't persuade her class of first years that red meat was essential. David tried to make a point that the overconsumption of lentils will lead to lectin poisoning. I'm afraid David has turned a blind eye to the health implications associated with red meat. Again, we, the opposition, stand with Liam Delaney, the suckler farmer from Portlaoise, and his family farm, as we too are also prime producers of red meat. Each of my team here today put significant value on our lamb and beef that we rear and sell for human consumption, and label our farms as the backbone of our livelihoods, as I can imagine Liam does too. But again, proposition, explain to me how our premium red meat that we and members of the audience produce on our home farms are essential in order to obtain a nutritionally balanced diet. Today, we told you of the Lenihan family, who have been driven out of the vegetable trade as fruit and vegetables, classified as essential foods, have plummeted in value in recent years. Proposition, is that what you want the outcome of our grass-fed premium red meat? Finally, I would like to thank the sponsors of this great agri debate, McDonald's and Dawn Meats, for their terrific support to the red meat producers and for putting forward a pristine quality product. I would also like to express gratitude to the proposing team for putting through their argument. But at the end of the day, myself and my team have proven that red meat is not essential in a nutritionally balanced diet, whether win, lose or draw here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ciara. And now we're going to hand over directly to Karen Delaney, captain of MTU, for her closing remarks in proposing the motion. Karen.
Chairperson, adjudicators, members of the opposition, ladies and gentlemen, to this debate where we are proposing the motion that red meat is an essential part of a nutritionally balanced diet. My team and I have presented to you the facts and the figures on why and how red meat is an essential part of a nutritionally balanced diet. David reminded us all how humans were specifically designed to eat meat, with canines and incisors, and the appendix going into retirement hundreds upon hundreds of years ago. Without red meat, we wouldn't have oxygen so readily available in our blood. Eoin told us how the vegan and vegetarian alternatives were immensely processed, with there being more sodium and fat in them. The vegan infamous Impossible Burger containing 12 ingredients, while our good, reliable beef burger containing only 1. When we know that this burger is only coming from suckler farmer Liam Delaney in Portlaoise, a farmer who has actually supplied Dawn Meats for the last 34 years, according to the Farming Independent. Barry told us how red meat is in athletes, how vital red meat is in athletes' diet, including the legendary Kerry team from 1975 to 86. And that he also mentioned that vegetarians' protein digestibility is reduced because of their high fibre diet. Owen told us how the vegan and vegetarian alternatives are immensely processed, with there being more sodium and fat in them. The vegan infamous burger containing 12 ingredients, while a reliable beef burger containing only 1. Ladies and gentlemen, let us not be blinded by the opposition's ridiculous notions. Red meat is an integral part of a balanced diet. Do not believe the opposition's preposterous statements. We can supplement if we ate this in our diet, but if we just included the red meat in our diet, we would not have to supplement at all. Ciara, you said that you can get the same amount of iron from chicken. Well, I don't know where you're getting your sources, but mussels only give you 20% of the recommended intake of iron, spinach only gives you 3%, and chicken only gives you 5%, whereas a fillet of steak gives you 33%. And your father said that it is not a dinner if it does not include red meat. I think the World Health Organization would agree with him. Claire, you said that you can get red meat. You can't get vitamin C and calcium from red meat. And you said that this is a problem. Well, lucky for you, I only have solutions. There is more vitamin C in grass-fed beef compared to grain-fed beef. And if you include broccoli and spuds with your glass of milk in your dinner, you're sorted. You have your vitamin C. But remember to get some sunshine in as well to make sure you absorb that calcium. Richard, you said that it is not completely necessary to eliminate it from your diet. And you're dead right. Once you include your 350 to 500 grams of red meat per week, you will be A-OK. And Ciara and Claire, thank you for introducing your families and providing all this anecdotal evidence. But we rely on science and facts here. And as for your sister playing rugby, she is probably one of the lucky 30% of people who do not suffer from these implications due to alternative diets, whereas the other 70% of people do. Ladies and gentlemen, that is why we are here at MTU, believe for the protection of people. We urge you to propose the motion today that red meat is an essential part of a nutritionally balanced diet for our health, our heritage, and our future. Thank you.
Well done, Karen. And what I want to tell you is that the winners of the competition will be announced on the 11th of March, and the winning teams will be those with the highest combined scores. But of course, there will also be a Best Speaker award for each of the debates. So my sincere thanks to two wonderful participating teams today, to DKIT and MTU. It was a wonderful performance, and I'm sure everybody watching in will agree. Whether you do or you don't, by the way, please use Twitter with our handle #Great Agri-Food Debate. We want to hear from you. I'd like to thank the teams, as I say, for their participation, for their obvious hard work and research. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank the judges, and of course, most importantly, to thank Dawn Meats and McDonald's for this incredible initiative. And I would like to finish by saying two things to all of those who were involved in putting this together. It's not easy when it's virtual versus the real thing. To say well done and thank you for your time and your patience. But I would like to finish by wishing each and every participant here today all the best in their chosen futures. And please look back upon today as an experience, as an opportunity to learn something, to do something different, to do something new. As I said, I hope you were able to relax and to enjoy the occasion and hopefully look back on it fondly. So to everybody participating, once again, can I say thank you, and to say what an honor it has been to moderate a really great debate. So thank you to everybody.